Dwight White's death in Dutton Ranch Episode 5 doesn't land like a normal plot twist. It lands like a disruption, something that feels wrong the moment it happens, and even worse the moment Sheriff Wade tries to explain it. Because according to Wade, Dwight died in a justified shootout. A man with a knife. A threat. A quick response. But what the episode actually shows tells a different story entirely. Dwight is shot in the back. His knife never leaves its sheath. And the official explanation doesn't match the physical reality. So the real question isn't just what happened. It's why Sheriff Wade killed Dwight in Dutton Ranch Episode 5. And the answer is buried somewhere between control, pressure, and something much bigger than a simple arrest gone wrong. Before the shooting, Dwight White wasn't even a major priority in Rio Paloma's public eye. He lived isolated, disconnected, and largely ignored by the system. No active manhunt. No visible urgency. Just a strange rancher with an even stranger setup, including the mysterious African leopard he keeps hidden on his land. That detail matters more than it first appears, because Dwight's leopard isn't just an exotic animal, it represents risk. A visible sign of something illegal, something unregulated, something that doesn't belong in a town where appearances are tightly controlled. Oriana doesn't arrive alone. She's followed by Miguel, her bodyguard, and more importantly, someone operating under Beulah Jackson's influence. Miguel is a quiet trigger point in this entire chain. He sees the leopard. He sees Carter's involvement. He sees Dwight's unstable, off-the-grid operation. And unlike Carter or Oriana, Miguel understands consequences. Not emotional ones, systemic ones. So when he leaves that ranch, it's very likely he doesn't just leave with concern. He leaves with information. And in Rio Paloma, information is power. This is where Sheriff Wade enters the situation. Because Wade doesn't show up to Dwight's ranch randomly. He shows up with purpose, timing, and confidence, like someone who already believes he knows what he's walking into. And that suggests one of two things. Either Dwight has been quietly watched for a long time, or someone has just pushed him onto Wade's radar. Miguel is the most likely connection point. Now here's where things turn darker. Because even if Dwight was guilty of minor crimes, nothing we see justifies what actually happens. Wade doesn't arrest him, he doesn't secure the scene properly, he doesn't escalate the case through legal procedure. Instead, Dwight ends up dead, and then immediately labeled as the aggressor. That gap between action and explanation is where the real mystery lives, because it suggests the decision to kill Dwight wasn't made in the moment. It was made under pressure or influence, or both. There are three possible layers to this. First, Wade may have been acting under external pressure tied to Beulah Jackson's influence. The show has already hinted that Beulah's family holds significant economic and political weight in Rio Paloma. Wade himself has expressed frustration about powerful families bending law enforcement without directly naming them. Second, Dwight's leopard may have crossed into territory far more serious than Wade initially anticipated, possibly triggering fears of illegal trafficking or hidden operations connected to Beulah's past involvement with trophy hunting and cross-border networks. Third, and most dangerously, Wade may have chosen control over chaos in the moment, a decision made not from law, but from fear of what Dwight's situation could escalate into if left alive. But regardless of the motive, one fact remains unchanged. Dwight was executed, then rewritten, and Carter saw all of it. Which brings us to the second part of this breakdown. What it means for Carter. For Carter, Dwight's death isn't just a shocking moment, it's a psychological turning point. Because Dwight represented something Carter rarely encounters in his world: independence without authority. A man living outside the system. A man not immediately shaped by Beulah's influence, Wade's power, or the town's expectations. In Dwight's ranch, Carter had a brief glimpse of a different kind of life. Messy, strange, but real. And that illusion is destroyed in seconds. When Wade shoots Dwight, Carter doesn't just witness violence, he witnesses authority rewriting truth in real time. A man dies, a story is immediately constructed, and the truth is quietly buried under a more acceptable version of events. That moment changes Carter in a way he won't fully understand yet, because now he knows something dangerous. The system doesn't just punish people, it decides what version of events survives, and even worse, Carter is released afterward. Wade lets him go. On the surface it looks like mercy, but structurally it feels like containment, a quiet warning disguised as indifference. Carter is being told, without words, to move on. But he can't. Because he saw the knife never leave its sheath, he saw Dwight running away, not attacking. He saw the truth before it was rewritten, and that creates a conflict that will sit inside him long after episode 5 ends. Not fear alone, not grief alone, but awareness, the kind that doesn't fade. From this point forward, Carter is no longer just a passive character moving through events. He becomes something more dangerous to the system around him, a witness who understands that truth is negotiable in Rio Paloma, and that understanding changes everything. Because Dwight's death doesn't just remove a character from the story, it introduces Carter to the real rule of the world he's living in. Justice isn't what happened. It's what powerful people agree happened. And Carter now knows exactly how that agreement is made.